Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Breaking your fast with dates and water is a tradition grounded in sound nutrition. Dates provide quick energy while water helps to rehydrate your body. Be sure to follow this up with a meal that includes lean proteins, vegetables, and whole grains. Save the deep-fried, sugary, and processed snacks for the end of your meal. This strategy will help to reduce your consumption of these foods and to ensure that you're getting nutrients from the healthier options first.
Are you a talented artist? Or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with your music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
Friday night again.
Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice, we
have to do it twice.
Where to?
I'm not a child.
Fuatana tu, wakuchukue tena.
Dad, just let a girl breathe.
Yani, hapa kwangu ndio ulikuwa unajigamba kwa simu, you are very busy.
Just greeting Sky. You know that she's an old friend.
Hautampata popote. Ebu, get out of my compound.
When have you been the type to fall back?
When your life is on the line, you have to, Mom.
You're now thinking.
Pole nimekaa sana kufikiria. Who abducted my daughter?
What?
You are protecting the abductors.
I don't want to start digging covered bruises.
Nobody touches my blood.
I knew I married you for a reason.
Exactly 5 minutes to the top of the hour. You're right on time for what is making news at this hour, including details of President Ruto's meeting today with leaders from the Western region. This just coming in months after an extensive development tour in that particular region.
The continued purge in cabinet has continued today with Justin Muturi being axed out of cabinet. Of course, this ends the frosty relations that have existed between the president and one member of his cabinet. We have details lined up for you. Welcome to the broadcast. Finally, Muturi is out. President Ruto fires former Attorney General Justin Muturi from cabinet. Saved from the news. Committee and family yet to get confirmation on monies allegedly paid to save a Kenyan from execution in Saudi Arabia. And IEBC selection panel concludes interviews for the next IEBC books.
Welcome to the broadcast. I'm Doreen. Arange Lusimora is our sign language interpreter.
And my name is John Jacob Kioria. You're very much welcome to the broadcast. And the news that starts off tonight is that President William Ruto has dropped Justin Muturi from the cabinet following months of tension between the former Attorney General and the head of state.
Muturi's sacking comes just hours after the president accused him of incompetence during his tenure at the state law office.
In changes announced by State House on Wednesday, Mbeere North Member of Parliament Geoffrey Ruku will replace Muturi as the CS for Public Service and Human Capital Development.
I had a problem with the AG who was there. He was fairly incompetent, but I now have a very competent lady.
This remark by President William Ruto on Tuesday night appeared to be the last nail that sealed Muturi's fate. On Wednesday, the president relieved Muturi of his duties, ending months of a frosty political relationship. Muturi will be replaced by one of his own in the party, outspoken Mbeere North MP Geoffrey Ruku.
Mimi niko hapa area nasunguka hiyo Nairobi siendi huku tukipangana na hii wananchi wa Mbeere North tukingojea rais kwa hamu na hamu. We will welcome him kama shujaa wa taifa letu ya Kenya.
The changes announced on Wednesday have also seen Environment and Forestry Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale get a new posting for the third time in less than 2 years. Duale will swap positions with Dr. Deborah Barasa. The Gender, Culture, Arts and Heritage docket that has been vacant since the name of Stella Soy Langat was rejected by Parliament after vetting will have a new holder, the widow of President Ruto's ally and immediate former Baringo Senator, the late William Cheptumo. The Appointments Committee, chaired by National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula, is expected to begin vetting Ruku and Hannah Wendot Cheptumo once the names have been formally submitted in Parliament.
President William Ruto has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to equitable development, saying no region will be left behind.
He spoke at State House Nairobi and said, when he met leaders from Western Kenya to assess progress on key projects ranging from agriculture and infrastructure to healthcare and water access.
The high-level meeting comes months after his extensive development tour of the region.
Ben Chumba has that report.
As people's representatives and areas that you need to focus so that we can use the infrastructure of government to drive the development of our country.
That commitment was the focus of today's meeting at State House Nairobi, where President William Ruto engaged governors and top government officials from Western Kenya.
Over the last couple of months, we have brought different teams together. And because we have brought different teams together under the broad-based arrangement, we are making steady progress in the right direction.
The discussion centered on strengthening agricultural value chains, particularly increasing fertilizer uptake to boost food production and reviving the struggling sugar and coffee industries. Beyond agriculture, leaders also addressed urgent infrastructure needs, including expanding road networks, improving power connections, and fast-tracking the construction of fresh produce markets. Access to clean water and universal health coverage were also top on the agenda. This meeting follows the president's recent tour of Western Kenya, during which he launched several projects, including the disbursement of 150 million in dividends to Mumias sugar farmers. In attendance were all Western Kenya governors Fernandez Baraza of Kakamega, Paul Otuom of Busia, Wilbur Otichilo of Vihiga, and Ken Lusaka of Bungoma, alongside Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi and National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula. Also present were key Cabinet Secretaries, including Wycliffe Oparanya of Cooperatives and Deborah Barasa of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry.
Ningependa kuwashukuru kwa sababu ya vile tumeshirikiana.
Ben Chumba, Prime Edition.
And now a candidate for the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC chairperson's position, Robert Akumu Asembo, was hard-pressed to explain a warrant of arrest issued against him in a fraud case.
Akumu, who is a former Football Kenya Federation's official, was convicted in January this year for contravening a section 313 of the Penal Code.
As Abdiaziz Hashim now reports, the panel also assessed the suitability of Lilian Wanjiku and Saul Simiyu Wasilwa as they concluded their interviews for the chairperson position.
The last day for the interviews for the chairperson position of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC came to an end on Wednesday afternoon.
Are you aware of any warrant of arrest that has been issued by the Kibera law courts?
I'm not aware.
The session saw former Football Kenya Federation official Robert Akumu Asembo at pains to explain a warrant of arrest issued against him in a fraud case early this year and his impending prison sentence.
The position you are seeking is the position of a chair. And as I'll quote what Adam's law kept saying, you're supposed to be as mweupe kama pamba. Have you ever been convicted?
I faced a criminal charge, but I am exploring the relevant legally available avenues, especially of appeal, and the matter I think should be sub judice. We had a court session on Monday. It's coming up again, so I believe we should leave it as sub judice.
So have you been convicted or not convicted on a criminal matter?
It is challengeable, Chair. The conviction is challengeable.
The panel questioned the integrity of Asembo.
Honorable Ferdinand Waititu is convicted. True or false?
Yes.
Has he put an appeal?
I have not followed up, but yes. I think he's in jail.
So you have put an appeal?
Yes.
5 open cases against you for different disciplinary issues as an advocate of the High Court, 2 of which have been settled. Are you aware? Yes or no, Counsel?
I'm not aware.
Lilian Wanjiku, a lawyer who also appeared before the panel, said if appointed to lead the poll body, she will institute penalties against commissioners who dissent and abandon their post, as has been witnessed in the past.
One of the biggest challenges we have is that commissioners run away from Kenyans at their time of need. That is what we have been experiencing as the people of Kenya. So that is likely to be a charity even in the next general election.
My name is Saul Simiyu Wasilwa.
Simiyu assured the electorate that the digital system of IEBC will be strengthened to authenticate, authorize and account for to avoid cases of possible manipulation of results.
Because usually you would find disagreements, and disagreeing is normal. Maybe going out there to vilify each other is where the problem could be.
The interviews for the 6 vacant commissioners' position will begin tomorrow and run until Thursday, April 24th, 2025. Abdiaziz Hashim for Prime Edition.
Now, the writing seems to have been on the wall on Justin Muturi's exit from the government from early last year.
That is when you post the implementation of a housing levy.
His harsh criticism of the government over the abductions heightened pressure for his exit.
Chamenza takes us through the path to Muturi's sack.
Back in February 2024, Justin Muturi may have fired his first salvo at his employer when, in his capacity as the Attorney General, advised the Kenya Revenue Authority not to deduct the housing levy for want of a legislative framework.
I, Justin Bidan Joka Muturi.
Come August 2024, when President William Ruto appointed a new cabinet after dissolving it following the Gen Z protest, Muturi was lucky to remain in the cabinet, taking over the Public Service and Human Capital Development docket. At the beginning of 2025, however, Muturi revealed that while serving as AG, he was forced to make a call to the president to request for the release of his son, whom he claimed had been abducted.
And you know, I said, I was lucky that when my son was abducted, I was able to reach the president, and he immediately ordered Nurdin Haji to release him. And Nurdin, went ahead and released him. How about these parents and relatives who cannot reach the president? I want to say we cannot be told that the police do not know. Our police is known to be one of the most efficient in this region. And therefore, if they wanted to crack this matter and bring the culprits to book, it will be a matter of just a few days.
These accusations he made repeatedly, putting him on a collision path with the state amid calls for his resignation on grounds of disloyalty.
I would just say bring it on. I mean, at my age, I'm not the kind of person to respond to some of it is really very perfunctory statement made by fairly inexperienced politicians. I think they are not worthy my response.
His impending purge from the government drew nigh when, during an iftar session with the Muslim community on Tuesday, President William Ruto criticized him for legal incompetence.
I had a problem with the AG who was there. He was fairly incompetent, but I now have a very competent lady.
In a quick rejoinder, Muturi released his exit scorecard as the Attorney General, indicating that he had served the government 17 billion shillings in litigation. This did not tip the scales in his favor, as hours later, the cabinet reshuffled named his replacement with no new appointment. Called the former National Assembly Speaker, who once shifted loyalties between President Uhuru Kenyatta and President Ruto, ultimately paved his own way out. Kamche Menza for Prime Edition.
The committee for the release of Stephen Bertrand Munyakho, the Kenyan who was sentenced to execution in Saudi Arabia, has said that it is yet to receive official communication on the alleged payment of a 129 million shillings fine for his release.
Their statement comes hours after United Democratic Alliance Secretary General Hassan Omar said that the Muslim League had made the payment and that the request for the release of Munyakho had been honored.
Tuesday night at State House, Nairobi. During the iftar dinner hosted by President William Ruto, the United Democratic Alliance Secretary General Hassan Omar said that the balance required for the release of Stephen Munyakho had been cleared and that all was set for his release.
The ambassador of Saudi Arabia to Kenya, Ambassador Khalid, and our ambassador in Saudi Arabia have confirmed that that request has since been honored. The $1 million has been paid and the Kenyan will return home safe, but also to warn Kenyans, wherever you are, to respect the laws of the territories that you live in, be it in Vietnam, be it in Malaysia, be it in South Africa, be it in Saudi Arabia. The government can intervene, but the government has its limitation. Ukiamua uende kwa territory ya mtu, heshimu sheria ya mtu.
However, hours later, in a statement, the Committee for the Release of Munyakho through its chairman Joe Odindo said it is yet to receive any official communication. The committee added that it had contacted government officials in Kenya and Saudi Arabia and will notify the public of the latest developments. Munyakho, the eldest son of veteran journalist Dorothy Kweyu, was convicted of manslaughter in 2012 following an altercation with a friend. The victim's family appealed, resulting in an enhanced sentence of execution with an option for 3.5 million riyals in blood money. He has been incarcerated for the past 13 years, and as of Tuesday, he was still being held in Durban prison in Jeddah. Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
Time for us to take our first breather right here on Prime Edition. I'll be coming back with more news, including business and sports.
Kupitia star 570 hash tunakupa nafasi ya kuchomoka na this beautiful Mazda Demio. Enjoy a beautiful, clean, semi-leather interior, low mileage, fuel-efficient 1300cc engine, great for personal use and business. Ukitaka kujishindia gari hii, kucheza ni rahisi sana. Chukua simu yako, bonyeza *570#, chagua option 3. And for only 35 shillings, hii gari inaweza kuwa yako. Kumbuka kucheza mara kadhaa, because the more you play, the higher chances of wewe kuwa mshindi.
Mungu ni mwema, asante Mungu. Ile nitakuwa naendesha hivi.
Dial *570# and make this dream car yours.
Cheza Loto Moto. We heard you. Tax amnesty is back. Kenya Revenue Authority is giving 100% relief on interest, penalties and fines for tax debts incurred up to 31st December 2023. Don't miss out. Take action now by settling your outstanding tax debt through easy-to-pay installments by 30th June 2025 and watch those penalties and fines for tax debts disappear. It's now or never to set your tax records right. Take advantage of the tax amnesty today. Terms and conditions apply. Kenya Revenue Authority. Tulipe ushuru tujitegemee.
Welcome back. Let's continue to inform you. And the Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has attributed the latest wave of banditry attacks in the northern part of the country to the conflicts on administrative boundaries.
Speaking in Loruk, Baringo County, when he met top security officers, Murkomen took issue with some politicians he is accused of inciting conflicts.
He spoke as tension remains high following a banditry attack that happened on Tuesday evening in the Sibilo location within the Loruk area.
With the rising cases of banditry and terrorism attacks being reported again after months of relative calm in the northern part of the country, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen was in Loruk area of Baringo County for a meeting with top security chiefs in the area.
I want to say this without fear of contradiction, that we are not going to cede any part of this republic to any criminal.
The Cabinet Secretary stated that the latest wave of banditry attacks in the northern part of the country emanates from the conflicts on administrative boundaries in Baringo North, Baringo South, Samburu, Laikipia, Isiolo and Turkana counties.
We realized that there was an upsurge of banditry issues in Samburu County, and it was taking a very complex direction, especially because of the proximity to Isiolo County, proximity to Laikipia North, proximity to Meru.
He also put on notice some politicians he accused of incitement in the area.
I know that the political fever is now rising, and because politicians, especially those who are aspiring for different positions, are feeling the heat of politics, they think that it is easier to incite people to violence. We are going to deal with everybody equally because they are all equal before the law.
The latest banditry attack in the area happened on Tuesday evening at a Korean village in Sibilo location, where 40 goats were stolen with security officers managing to recover 38 of them. Tilio Marco for Prime Edition.
And Ferdinand Clifford Waitito will remain in prison until the 23rd of April, when the High Court will consider his second attempt to be released on bond as he pursues an appeal against his 12-year jail sentence.
His first attempt hit a snag on 3rd March after Justice Lucy Njuguna dismissed his application pending the hearing and determination of his appeal.
Former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waitito, who was on 13 February this year sentenced to serve 12 years in prison or pay 53 million shilling fine for graft, was once again trying his luck to be set free.
Then, depending on the outcome of the case, we can act.
Through his legal team, Waitito argued that he should be released on bail to allow him adequately prepare his appeal, which he said had a high chance of success.
Our applications for bail will be heard in the shortest time possible after we are done with a few issues of technicalities. But since the judge has fast-tracked the issue, the best we can do at this moment is just wait for those days.
What the court directed is that we first and foremost deal with the issue of the amendment of the petition of appeal
and a ruling has been slated for the 23rd of April, and thereafter the court will give directions as to the hearing of the bond pending appeal.
3 days to file our written submissions with regards to that application.
However, the prosecution opposed the application, asserting that he has already been convicted and should remain in custody until the appeal is determined.
From here, we'll be seeking if you could give us a leave to file our submissions, our written submissions to this application of the 18th. And we need to know how we are addressing you, because it's the same prayer. Prayer 2 of the 14th is prayer 3 of the 18th. So are they abandoning that application, that prayer altogether, or are they only abandoning it in the application of the 14th?
The former governor was sentenced to 12 years in jail or a 53 million shilling fine after his conviction for irregularly awarding a tender for road constructions in Kiambu County. Jailed former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu is fighting for his freedom, seeking bail to challenge his 12-year sentence for graft. The High Court's ruling on April 23, 2025 could determine his fate. Reporting for Prime Edition at Milimani Law Courts, I'm Letua Deborah.
And the National Cohesion and Integration Commission has signed a memorandum with the Institute for Economics and Peace, an international body with expertise in peace and conflict management, to implement transgenerational conversations town hall sessions.
The campaign aims to bridge intergenerational divides and empower communities to foster understanding, conflict resolution and social cohesion in Kenya.
Scheduled to kick off in April, the intergenerational town hall meetings will set a platform for the Gen Z to raise their concerns and interact with the older generations for a common understanding. According to the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, the program was informed by the Gen Z protest witnessed on 25th of June 2024 that depicted a clear division amongst generations.
There were protests from different generations, and NCIC came up with a campaign that we dubbed the Transgenerational Conversations. It is within these transgenerational conversations that we sought partners that we can be able to implement this roadmap also, so that we bring different generations to the table.
The NCIC collaboration with the Institute of Economics and Peace also seeks to build trust between the youth and the government.
That's going to help our country with those town hall meetings, and also make sure that people are peaceful and they use our framework in peace-building activities across the country and beyond.
The program, to be spread to 17 counties, intends to address the degradation of Kenya's social fabric.
We are renowned for coming up with a concept called a positive peace framework, that we wish to use that framework to help the NCIC to achieve the objectives of the transgenerational conversations, and also capacity build NCIC staff on the same concept of a positive peace framework.
In the end, the Commission aims to achieve political decency and accountability in the country. The town hall meetings will be broadcast live on Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. Giverson Minor, Prime Edition.
Interesting that indeed the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation will also be part of that transgenerational conversation. Moving this forward, after nearly 4 decades, the thought-provoking Swahili stage play Picha is set to return to the theatre.
Written by Mohamed Kameja, the play, which is our main focus tonight on cinemas and theatre, delves into the harrowing realities of domestic abuse and self-deception, making it as relevant today as it was during its first staging in 1985.
Jacqueline Masharia had a sit-down with the play director Martin Kigondu during the rehearsals, and here is what he had to say.
Umekuwa kama mwiba, kila wakati nakanyaga unanidunga. Siwezi kuwa na wewe baada ya kujitia doa kwa kufanya dhambi kubwa kama hiyo. Umechoka? Mimi nimekuchosha? Mimi ulinichosha ile siku nililazimishwa kukuoa na wazazi wangu. Fanya hivi. Ingia ndani, funganya virago vyako vyote, toka nje.
Picha, a Swahili stage play written by Mohamed Kameja, delves into the themes of domestic abuse and self-deception. Restaging for the first time since 1985, the play follows the life of Kanini, a woman who has long upheld an idealized image of a respectable family, but that is not the case in her marriage.
Dada nyamaza. Kulia kwa seriani. Dada. Haya ni mambo ya dunia. Bora kupanga la kufanya.
The play powerfully captures the psychological turmoil of a woman forced to choose between maintaining a false display or confronting the painful reality of her husband's abuse. It serves as a compelling commentary on the societal stigma surrounding domestic violence and the lengths individuals go to in order to preserve the deceptive image of their families.
Picha is one of the plays he picked from his past and polished to sort of make it sit and make sense in this day and age. And it focuses on a few taboo themes I wouldn't speak about now up till people watch the play, but it also focuses a bit on gender-based violence. But in truth, it's really about culture, who we are and where we are. So as much as it was written in the 80s, we see a lot of effects of our culture as a people.
Martin Kigundu, the play director, notes that the cast, led by a talented ensemble of seasoned and emerging actors, has worked tirelessly to bring Kanini's heart-wrenching struggle to life.
When I played a character in Goge wa Thiong'o's I Will Marry When I Want, we had Kikuyu versions. I'm not the greatest Kikuyu speaker. So what I did is I got a dialect coach. So an actor who's willing to go the extra mile, be it getting a dialect coach, be it going to live among the speakers, be it walking around with a kamusi. You've seen them in rehearsals with kamusis. So I looked at actors who are willing to do whatever it took for them to be as truthful and as good. And that is how I ended up with Lucy Wache. I ended up with Michael Ndunda. I ended up with the whole cast as is. This is a fantastic performance.
Mara napewa za London, mara Paris, mara New York, sijui Hong Kong. Basi tu mbora miezi minne lakini katembea dunia nzima. Dada shukuru. Ama unataka kae hapa? Utakula nini?
The themes that are tackled are quite important and are as urgent now as they were back then. It's now, could be 40 years since this play was first staged. And this time to a bigger audience, then I think it is important that the audience takes this seriously. You know, just make sure you've noted on your calendar that on the 5th and the 6th we'll be at the National Theatre, Ukumbi Mdogo. Yeah, and we are making it as urgent because, especially for the older playwrights, it's beautiful to see them having the courage to step back in.
Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and Theatre.
Uarabuni mmoja. Wewe na ubaridi na kitanda tu. Hai.
Jet A1, cheza avieta bila data bila credo. Dial *892# for instant takeoff. Pepea bila pressure kucrash au kucash out. Avieta bila data, avieta bila credo. Uko na kabambe, wewe pia ni rubani mnoma. Dial *892#. Jet A1, michezobet.com. Cheza kwa kuwajibika. Kushiriki ni miaka 18 au zaidi. BCLB license number 0000664.
We take a look at the day's business news. My name is Wairimu Jenga.
The National Treasury will deploy sustainability-linked bonds and debt swaps to address the growing public debt, which currently stands at 66%. Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi says Kenya is grappling with mounting debt with approximately close to 700 billion shillings in outstanding Eurobonds, while 120 billion shillings is scheduled for repayment this year alone. Under the new debt management strategy, Treasury plans to lower debt GDP ratio to about 55% by 2029.
Kenya's growing public debt has become a concern for policymakers, with debt servicing consuming a large portion of government revenues. The pressure to meet international repayment obligations, particularly with the Eurobond nearing maturity, has intensified calls for urgent debt management reforms. As of June 2024, the stock of public debt was 10 trillion shillings, of which domestic debt was 5.4 trillion.
Do we really need to go to IMF, World Bank, to wait for executive decision of Trump? We will not. But what if now we decide we want to be satisfied with what we have? We are stealing zero. All of us as a country, we are not stealing anything. And then we save this 2 billion per day. We will save over 700. In fact, our total deficit will be covered by our own taxes, and we will not borrow any money.
Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi says the government is working on various strategies aimed at restructuring the country's fiscal space without compromising essential public services.
So how then do we solve this problem? The strategy, to me, is very simple. Number one is to consistently demonstrate that you are reducing your budget deficit to GDP ratio over the period to reach the target of at least maximum of 3%.
All eyes shift attention to the National Treasury as the government is exploring new funding instruments to address budget deficits and manage public debt. Reporting for Prime Edition from Nairobi, my name is Frederick Munyakho.
The government plans to toll more than 900 kilometers of the Northern Corridor if the draft national toll policy is approved by the Cabinet and the National Assembly. The Technical Working Group, KEFA-SEDA, says toll prices along the corridor will be after every 3 months. The policy that has generated a lot of public backlash now heads to the Cabinet for approval.
The government has been keen on introducing toll fees on key roads in the country to supplement road infrastructure allocations. Roads Principal Secretary Joseph Mbugua says there is need for a new finance model for road maintenance and construction due to physical constraints.
We have agreed to the following. Commit to ensuring affordability by setting reasonable toll rates and exploring subsidies where necessary. Assure that all revenue will be reinvested for road development and maintenance.
The Technical Working Group on Road Tolling says if the proposed draft policy is adopted in its current form, roads in the Northern Corridor will be the first to be tolled. According to the draft policy, only selected roads will be tolled without having a complementary toll-free road.
But our target is on the Northern Corridor, which forms part of our artery for purposes of economic growth. So Northern Corridor is one candidate that we'll be looking to.
To protect motorists from exploitation, the toll fees will be reviewed after every 3 months.
There will be changes in foreign currency depending on the currency of investment, and therefore, as a policy, we've also defined the framework on how we'll be adjusting these tolls. And this will happen in a quarterly basis, that is after every 3 months.
The working group is also working on a proposal that will allow motorists to use toll roads on credit.
And you can access a toll road, use it, at the point of pay, you just pass, but you have a maximum time of 24 hours for you to do it, to make the payment.
The policy also calls for the creation of a national tolling corporation that will regulate tolling of roads in the country. Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
The Central Bank of Kenya is working towards improving uptake of digital payment options within the Kenyan travel industry. Central Bank of Kenya Head of Digital Payments Services, Nita Omanga, says the regulator has begun engaging stakeholders in the sector as it seeks to balance the promotion of innovation in travel payments with the need for a robust cybersecurity and consumer protection system.
The Central Bank of Kenya figures indicate that Kenyans transacted 6.59 trillion shillings on mobile money in 2024, indicating that Kenyans heavily rely on the system owing to the ease with which users can send and receive money. Now, the travel industry is looking at these solutions as crucial to improving efficiency in travel-related payments.
Travel has moved to the digital space. In that digital space, there is content and there is a payment. So we are trying to complete that cycle system of payment within the travel system.
Different countries also have varying regulatory frameworks, leading to inconsistencies and in processing travel payments. Addressing these challenges is crucial to creating a more efficient and a more inclusive payment ecosystem.
The CBK is among the partners looking at developing the travel industry's digital innovations such as QR payments, buy now, pay later options and real-time cross-border payments in a bid to reshape the travel experience of consumers, even as issues of data security and privacy concerns continue to rise.
I think the most important thing for us is to, one, first have an appetite for risk, because that is the only way that we can overcome and sort of like also be able to accept some of these new technologies and developments that are basically there.
The Central Bank of Kenya remains committed to working closely with all stakeholders to create a regulatory environment that fosters growth while safeguarding consumers.
This emerged during the launch of the two-day Kenya Travel Industry Payment Summit 2025 in Nairobi, bringing together stakeholders from the travel industry, fintech sectors, and regulatory bodies to discuss emerging trends, innovation, and security in the digital payments landscape.
The challenges they've been facing is that the old model of system of bank transfers take time, but now we are transiting this to the online, to the fintech, to the credit card, to the mobile money system.
The summit calls for greater collaboration between stakeholders to promote innovation, enhance consumer protection, and improve service delivery across the travel payments ecosystem. Alanako, Prime Edition.
Inuka na loto moto sasa kwa star 570 hash option ya 4 kuna kashamba juja na nika 50 by 100 worth 1.7 million Kenyan shillings. Na hii si shamba tu, iko kwa prime location few minutes from Juja Town. Stima yako iko ndani na kama ni development rapid and so promising. Na mambo ya landlord mwisho wa mwanzo ni hapa. Ukishinda hili shamba tunakuongeza 1 million Kenyan shillings ujijengee nyumba yako kwa shamba yako. Kuinuka na loto moto ni kucheza sasa hivi kupitia star 570 hash option ya 4 au register deposit na ucheze sasa hivi kwa www.tushinde.com na ujishindie shamba hili na addition of 1 million Kenyan shillings. Inuka na loto moto.
Welcome back. You're still watching Prime Edition. And tonight we analyze the Kenya Airways profitability, and is Kenya Airways out of the red after a decade in the negative territory? Well, the national carrier shocked the market on Tuesday after it posted 5.5 billion shillings in net profit for the year 2024. For an airline that was going bust 3 years ago, the financial turnaround was shocking. But is it time for KQ to pop up the champagne bottle? Well, we talked to aviation expert Leonard Kafafa about the carrier's financial miracle, route expansion, and Project Kifaru. For over a decade, Kenya Airways struggled financially, posting consecutive losses. In 2010, the airline launched the ambitious Project Mawingu, a strategy aimed at positioning KQ as Africa's leading carrier. The former managing director Titus Naikuni touted the project as the runway to success for the carrier. However, Project Mawingu bled the carrier to near death due to costly fuel hedging, high operational costs, and an expensive aircraft leasing deal. Aviation expert Leonard Kafafa, however, blames the debacle on the lack of proper risk projection and planning.
That project was predicated on the Dreamliner because the Dreamliner is an efficient plane. Then they had aging 767s and they had a number of aging 737s. They needed a fleet renewal, so they settled on the Boeing for that fleet renewal. Unfortunately, the delivery of the Boeing was delayed by 3 years. Then, to compound that, West Africa had an Ebola epidemic attack. And that epidemic closed off the entire West Africa for quite a length of time.
Rising fuel costs and maintenance expenses further strained KQ's finances, while competition from low Middle Eastern carriers like Emirates, Qatar Airways, and Ethiopian Airlines intensified, offering lower fares and superior connectivity. By 2015, the airline faced severe liquidity challenges due to its high debt burden and mounting losses.
So a whole lot of issues, one after the other, compounded KQ's woes and led to loss of profits for a significant length of time. The last one, of course, was the pandemic.
To stay afloat, Kenya Airways underwent a series of financial restructurings, including a debt-to-equity swap that saw the Kenyan government and local banks take a significant haircut.
The loan that KQ took to acquire the Dreamliner fleet was guaranteed by the Kenya government. So when KQ was unable to make timely payments, it asked the government to step in so that it could help it offset the payments as they fell due. This was in a project called Innovation. So Innovation is where the government takes up the KQ's loan and pays the financiers, and then KQ pays to the government.
Despite these setbacks, KQ has made notable progress transitioning from Project Mawingu to Project Kifaru. The airline has focused on route rationalization, debt restructuring, improved on-time performance, cost reduction, and boosting both revenue and profitability.
Reduction of costs, naturally, a growing of the top line. In terms of frequencies in certain lucrative markets, I'll give an example. KQ now does New York, and I think it does daily flights to New York. Initially, it was doing like 2 or 3 in a week. KQ does London, it does Johannesburg, it does Cape Town. In some of these lucrative routes, it does double dailies.
These efforts appear to be paying, resulting in a 5.5 billion shillings net profit in 2024. A sharp turnaround from 22.7 billion shillings loss recorded in 2023.
That gain in the shilling has actually helped KQ to make remarkable gains.
However, despite the positive turnaround, the national carrier remains in a delicate position, weighed down by a negative equity position, meaning it is still technically and commercially insolvent.
More liabilities than the assets can possibly cover for KQ. I think we're talking about 118 billion shillings in terms of negative equity.
Kafafa says for KQ to make a full bounce back, it urgently requires a strategic investor to inject fresh capital of an estimated 200 billion shillings, expand its route network, acquire new aircraft, refurbish existing airplanes, and retire its legacy debt. But though the runway looks visible and clear, the question remains, will the takeoff be smooth? Now moving on, the agriculture experts want the government to amend the Seed Act to give way for the mass distribution of indigenous seeds. BioVision Africa Trust Executive Director David Amudavi says this will help promote food sovereignty and reduce cost of seeds in the country.
The Seeds and Plant Variety Act 2012 prohibits the sharing, exchanging, selling, production and multiplying uncertified seed. The Act proposes a jail term of 2 years or a fine of up to 1 million shillings for offenders. Crops development firm BioVision African Trust now wants the law amended to give local farmers access to indigenous seeds. The organization says there is need to regulate and formalize the indigenous seed trade to commercialize traditional seeds.
We need farmer seeds also to be in light supply. We have very many farmers in this country. They need seed on a range of crops, not just on maize alone.
Mass rollout of indigenous seeds will help increase production through seed access and ensure the country's seed and food sovereignty.
Some of the farmer seed is very important in providing the germplasm that is needed by researchers to develop superior seed.
Also, we need to maintain this seed diversity so we can use it also for breeding.
African countries have been encouraged to harmonize their phytosanitary requirements to boost trade in the continent.
If you look at the regional economic communities, they are moving on introducing the simplified trade regime so that small quantities we could move across borders freely, but regulated.
The experts spoke during the second Eastern Africa Agroecology Conference in Nairobi. Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
Post-harvest losses remain a major setback in Kenya's quest to address food security. Agriculture experts say Kenya loses almost 40% of all food harvested in the country due to lack of proper storage facilities. To address this, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Authority is rolling out cold storage for smallholder farmers in Meru, Nyandarua and Kisii counties. Here's that story.
Micro, small and medium entrepreneurs in the agricultural value chain face major challenges including post-harvest losses, lack of access to wider markets and limited access to affordable credit. Speaking during the operationalization of cold storage facilities packed with Kenya Development Corporation, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Authority CEO Henry Ritha says manufacturers and financial institutions need to develop tailored products to support small businesses.
You have seen farmers selling their produce at throwaway prices because they have no facilities to store. These cold rooms will store those potatoes. You have seen the two team leaders from the private sector talk to that. But more importantly, it is not just storage, it is preserving the value of the commodities.
The initiative targets small farmers from Kisii, Meru and Nyandarua. Farmers in these counties will receive cold storage facilities to help boost their production and enhance the agricultural value chain.
Kenya Development Corporation finances investors. We support industrial development. We provide financing to investors to sustainably invest in various sectors. Our key sectors of focus are manufacturing, what we also called post-harvest losses.
Ritha further emphasized that the county aggregation centers and industrial parks will play a crucial role in organizing farmers and linking them to local and international markets. Frederick Moki for Prime Edition.
And that story brings to a close business news tonight. Up next, the day's sports. My name is Waiter Mujenga. Good night.
Tunapowasha vifaa vyetu, tunapata fursa ya kutangamana na wasikilizaji wetu.
Karibu sana thĩinĩ wa tabarĩra ya Rwiga.
Tunapeperusha utangazaji uliobobea katika habari,
Nĩ ũndũ wa macio na mangĩ maingĩ,
burudani,
nĩ harĩa tũkoragwo tũkĩigua nyĩmbo mwaki nyĩmbo hoda
na hamasisho la kiroho. Usiachwe nyuma. Jiunge nasi kwa safari ya kufana katika 99.5 FM. Shoro FM.
KBC Prime Edition, it's now time for sports. My name is Karen Kibet. The World Athletics Masters 5,000-meter champion Francis Kipkoech Bowen won the second gold for Kenya when he smashed the 3,000-meter world indoor record in the M50 category in the ongoing championship in the USA. Bowen took the lead from the start to stop to clock in a time of 8 minutes 36.23 seconds. The silver medal went to American Gregory Michel, who timed 9 minutes 7.85 seconds, with the bronze going to Frenchman Santiago de la Fuente Martin. Earlier, Ibrahim Muya had clinched a silver medal for Kenya in the 60-meter dash M40 category, with the gold going to American Antoine. Muya was supposed to participate in today's 200 meters, but withdrew due to a tendon injury picked in the 60-meter dash. Regina Malai Mulatia was competing in the women's long jump W45 category, where she was looking forward to a podium finish. Tomorrow will be a busy day for Team Kenya, with Millicent Ndoro and Elizabeth Muthoka participating in their specialities. The World Athletics Masters Indoor Championship comes to a close this Sunday, the 30th of March, in Gainesville, Florida, USA.
Ilibidi nianze na kazi kwa sababu kulikuwa na vikundi walikuwa wamekimbia mwanzoni. Sasa walikuwa naona time, kulikuwa naenda na saa. Na kwa masters hakuna pacemaker, sasa unapambana peke yako na hali yako. Na nafurahia kushiriki tena kwa mchezo.
The governments of Kenya and Serbia have agreed to expedite exchange programs aimed at fostering talent scouting and development. During bilateral talks with the ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary of the Republic of Serbia to Kenya, Kubliro, the Cabinet Secretary for Sports Salim Vuria, underscored the mutual benefits both nations stand to gain by leveraging on each other's strengths, particularly in sports. The Kenyan government, through the Ministry of Sports, has been keen to widen the net of scouting for sporting talents in the country, with the development of sporting academies across the country, so as to make Kenya a great sporting nation in the world.
What we want to explore are the opportunities of twinning our youth in Kenya and the youth in Serbia, and seeing how we can also leverage on having an exchange program where athletes from Serbia can also experience the high altitude training here in Kenya, and as well as also having other sporting activities, including football. Yes.
I'm especially looking forward to the activities in the context of sports, because both Serbs and Kenyans have proved that they are very talented when it comes to the sport, and very persistent in their wish to be the best in the world.
The Kenya Under-20 men's soccer team, the Rising Stars, will not be in Cote d'Ivoire to make up the numbers, but to make an impact in their first Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations, according to head coach Salim Babu. The team is already in camp, where they are upbeat about their preparations as they aim to make it to the knockout stages of the tournament. The Rising Stars are drawn in Group C with the defending champions Senegal, 2017 champions Zambia, and fellow debutants hosts Sierra Leone. They will open their campaign against Sierra Leone on the 1st of May before they meet Zambia on the 4th of May and Senegal on the 7th of May this year. The Kenya Under-20 men's soccer team qualified for the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations for the first time in their history from the CECAFA zonal qualifiers, where they finished second behind Tanzania, who will be making their second appearance in the tournament. The Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations will kick off from the 26th of April to the 18th of May this year in Cote d'Ivoire.
Na vijana wako ready kwa sababu ukiangalia mazoezi imekuwa juu, kila mtu anataka hiyo nafasi ya kwenda kucheza AFCON. Nafikiri tuko na timu nzuri this time, vijana wako vizuri kwa sababu, lakini bado tunategemea wengine wanakuja na kama hajafika kina Amos na Kibet.
Ukiona sisi Under-20 tumekuwa tukiperform poa, we have been in a good form. And ukiangalia mostly ni wale player tumejel nao kuanzia kwa ile Under-18 2023, now we are 2025. That means tunaelewana poa. We are not just going there to participate in that group, hatuendi trip. As tunaenda, we are going for the title, na hiyo ni kitu watu wanafaa kujua.
Burundi boosted their chances of qualifying for next year's FIFA World Cup finals for the first time with a dominant 5-0 victory over Seychelles in a Group F match played in Mexico. Both teams went into the match under pressure, but Burundi had the last laugh to hold on to their third place in the group with 10 points, while Seychelles are languishing at the bottom with no points. Burundi will face Ivory Coast in their next match, with the Elephants leading the group with 16 points, followed by Gabon with 15 points, following their 2-1 defeat of Harambee Stars. The Kenyan team is placed fourth with 6 points after adding just a point from their 3-all draw with Gambia, whose return match is scheduled in Kenya in September this year when the qualifiers resume. The 2026 FIFA World Cup finals will be held in the USA, Mexico and Canada in June and July next year. This edition marks the tournament's first expansion to 48 teams, an increase from the 32-team format introduced in 1998. Japan became the first nation to qualify alongside the host countries, securing their 8th consecutive FIFA World Cup appearance on the 20th of March. Defending champions Argentina also secured their spot last evening.
Nyimana, lovely work down the left wing, but Burundi's number 7 scores a poacher's goal. Well, through ball to Chorty with a man in the middle for 3. It is 3. Nyimana, and Burundi making this look far, far too easy. Corner here. Wayman's punched away by Akon. Fizz back in. Glorious strike. How sweet of a hit is that? Akon giving it straight to Giru Mugisha. If even Ian...
Still in the World Cup qualifiers, Argentina will be back to defend their title in the FIFA World Cup finals following Bolivia's draw with Uruguay in the CONMEBOL World Cup qualifier matches. Argentina secured their place after their historic 4-1 defeat of Brazil in Buenos Aires. Alvarez and Enzo went into the score sheet within the first 12 minutes of the first half before Mateos replied for the 5-time champions. Alexis and Giuliano sealed the scoreline in the 37th and 71st minute as Brazil suffered their worst defeat in the World Cup qualifying matches. They are not yet guaranteed of a place in next year's finals as they are fourth with 21 points and 4 matches remaining. Paraguay stayed 5th and 1 point clear of 6th placed Colombia after the sides drew 2-2. And finally, the World Athletics Relays will be hosted in Africa for the first time next year. This follows the 237th World Athletics Council meeting in Nanjing, China, which awarded the rights to Botswana, who will host the 8th edition on the 2nd and 3rd of May 2026. This is a significant milestone to Africa as it marks the 4th World Championship in the continent over the past decade, alongside the Diamond League and the Continental Tour Gold events, which include the Kipkeino Classic in Kenya. World Athletics President Sebastian Coe said that hosting the World Athletics Relays in Gaborone demonstrates Botswana's commitment to athletics, showcasing the country's growing expertise, experience and skills in organizing major athletics events. The World Athletics Council also confirmed Nassau, Bahamas as the host of the 2028 edition, which will be held on the 22nd and 23rd of April in Brasilia, Brazil, which will stage the 2026 World Athletics Race Walking Team Championship on the 12th of April. And those were all the sports stories we had for you tonight. I'll see you tomorrow with more sports news. My name is Karen Kibet. Have a peaceful night. I hand you back to my colleagues Doreen and JJ Kioria. JJ.
Thank you very much, Marakwet Express, for the sports. Time for us now to put a cap on Prime Edition. We really appreciate your company and thank you very much. Have yourself a fantastic night. Our sign language interpreter tonight was Lucy Mwaura.
I was to say Karen Kibet, then it just went.
Yeah, but I thought Marakwet Express would fit this context, right?
Yeah, all right. We close it there. Thank you so much for making time for us. I'm Doreen Arange. Good night.
Town Express! 20, bwana, town! Watu ya town, bado haijajaa, dere, watu wengine 7.
Kwani wazako si ungekulia kwenu? Sasa umetoka wapi? Mimi sitaki mahindi leo.
Wewe unanichia mkate.
Siagusi mkate fubi.
Wewe ongea bora usituze mkate yangu.
Sishike hivi. Wazako wasikulia huko mbali na mimi. Si mimi nakulamiwa ni wewe.
Donda, gari imejaa na bado unasema watu waingie. Tuambie ndare hapo apunguze wimbo. Niongea na simu hapa.
Hakuna volume inapunguzwa hapa. Kama unataka kuendesha gari yako, enda dial *570# option ya 3. Watu wanaendesha magari hapa nje na wewe bado unapiga nyenyenye kwa matatu.
Option 3,
unalipa ama unasuka?
Comfort yako iko kwa *570# option 3. Master Genio moja safi, reliable, modern safety and security features. Cheza mara kadhaa ujaze entry tickets zako kwenye draw ili uimarishe uwezo wa kushinda. Mshindi tunamtangaza 27th of April na gari